I have a legal practitioner, political affairs commentator, human rights activist, yes, Barrister Henry Owanzo. Welcome to International Forum. Appreciate your coming.
Wishing thank you very much. Viewers at home, once again, God bless all of us.
And so very close to him, he is a lecturer at Uniben College, right, of Medical Sciences, clergyman, political affairs commentator, and Honorable Frank Amego. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Yeah, I like to call him Sonny. He likes to call me Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I wonder why that is. But Honorable Etiosa Igemo, welcome so much. I really appreciate you coming to International Forum.
Thank you, viewers. Good afternoon.
All right. So, Israel on one hand hammering Hamas despite the hues and cry of the world, saying Israel, the way you are taking it is just so much. It's like using a sledgehammer on a fly. That is on one hand. The second hand, attacking Lebanon because of the activities of Hezbollah. You understand? That's an incursion into another man's country because you are fighting against terrorists. Let me start with you, Honorable Etiosa. Is Israel not biting more than it can chew as a country?
I don't think that they're biting more than they can chew. Like I said in the studios in the past, I said the idea of the existence of man when it comes to the issue of coexisting amongst each other has a lot to do with borderlines relative to power, resource, and control. You know, power, resources, and control means the power that you hold to dictate whatever you wish, control, getting hold of the people, and then the resources that they have. And Hezbollah has been in existence for a very long time. It's like a militia wing of Iran, because all this idea of the so-called almost third world-like world war that we're seeing today has a lot to do with man inhumanity to man. I would not necessarily say that Israel is right in what they're doing. I'm sure we spoke about this some time ago. But if you look at the capacity of the Israeli military, is way above and a lot stronger than the Palestinians who are firing rockets, or the Iran using Hezbollah to create a kind of a discomfort for Israel, irrespective of issues of land grabbing and borderline issues. So, to me, I feel sad. I feel sad because so many souls and people are dying today. That tees up from the problems in Ukraine and Russia, which you and I know so many people have been killed, and at the end of the day, there will be no real justice for anyone. You know, the problem between the Arabian world and the Western establishment and the need for the world superpower on the issue of hegemony cost the battles in the First World War when Japan was in charge, running a closed market system, and now the running the Bretton Woods system has never ceased to stop because of human inabilities and greed that exists within them, whether it is in America, whether it is in England, whether it is in the Arabian world. Because at the end of the day, there are people living in Lebanon who don't agree with each other.
All right.
And there are people living in Israel who do not agree with each other.
I will come back to you. But from what you said, they are not biting more than they can chew. But going overboard to another country, all in the name of fighting insurgents or terrorists, come on. What is really going on? Some are saying Israel has violated many charters of the UN. They've broken so many rules and nobody is talking to Israel. Honorable, over to you.
I'm wondering, Wilson, how you grew up. From your posture now, it's as if both of us never had the same background. If you go to your farmland, for instance,
yeah,
and you saw a hole that looks like that of a rabbit. So a simple analogy will make you understand that this rabbit will have to be dug, maybe to get the rabbit out of it. You can't fire rockets from a country to my own country. They now come back and tell me that I cannot enter into your country. The rockets they shot. The rockets were not shot inside Israel against the Israelis. No. The rockets were shot from Lebanon.
So they needed to know the background of those people that shot the rockets. So that was what made them to go there. In Benin setting, we'll say whenever there is cold, is a rainmaker that caused the cold. If you don't mind, Nosia Mosioni. So the point is, it's just that it's quite unfortunate that a lot of lives, maybe innocent, have been lost. But it's a war situation orchestrated by the Hezbollah group. I don't know why we have to make a case. Maybe a lawyer, you will say that later. Make a case for a militant group, for a terrorist group. Hezbollah is not a country. What has Lebanon done all this while in an attempt to clip their wings from creating problems for neighboring countries? Little or nothing. So Lebanon should not be so angry, because what you could not mitigate against, other countries coming to do that. Right. So in the same way, what happens in Palestine, you couldn't handle your people, and they have attracted a war situation to your country, and you are complaining. So I've not seen Israel invading the territory of Lebanon, because it was from Lebanon the stone was thrown and hit the windscreen of somebody in Israel. So the owner of that car needed to drive down to know who those miscreants would be. So it's not an invasion to me.
Not an invasion?
Yeah.
Well, as a legal practitioner, do you differ when you talk about the points they raise, saying that Israel do have the right to go into Lebanon without permission? Don't forget that aspect of it. Because even the Lebanese government are complaining that you guys are bringing war into our country. What do you have to say about this?
You see, ordinarily, like the United Nations Charter and others, they are supposed to control the activities of most of these countries, ensuring that you obey, or the other one, you respect the sovereignty of a particular nation. But you find out again that in a situation like those countries in that Middle East, they have been living at each other's throat, waiting for an opportunity to strike against one another. Oh. And Israel has become a kind of the scapegoat, if I will use the word scapegoat, because they look for every opportunity to attack Israel, because as it were, they never wanted the nation of Israel to exist, and that is what they are doing. But unfortunately again, you find out that Israelis are always ready. We look at what happened in October 7th, 2023. The people came in their thousands. They breached border fence. They went ahead. Some came with paragliders. Some came with speedboats. At the end of the day, 1,200 persons were reported dead. 250 taken away as hostages. And Netanyahu, you remember the Israelis say, where were you that these people came? They took us on our word. And from that day till today, the stage has changed. And you see the high level of humanitarian catastrophe that has taken place in Gaza, and as well as Lebanon and other neighboring Middle East countries. So you find out that accepted that Israel has gone too far, but the question still remains, where is United Nations? Where is all these affiliations that they belong to? What have they done to ensure that these actions of Hezbollah, actions of the Hamas is being curtailed? You cannot stop a man who has been, pushed to the wall without returning back, and that is what you find today.
All right. Now you use the parable that you cannot, prevent a man who was pushed to the wall to retaliate. But that's what I said Israel is doing right now. That is pushing Iran to the wall. That is pushing, Palestine to the wall. That is pushing the Middle East to the brink. After all, if you take a look at the situation, someone said that Israel should have left Lebanon or Lebanese government to really handle the situation. Why the incursion?
Well, just like the barrister and professor said, there's no way Israel will fold their hands, because they felt like they are surrounded by these enemies. Okay. The enemies are the brothers who are living within other countries within the Arabian world. And this is like a ticket time bomb. It's been this way for a very long time. And unfortunately, these are people that are running into milky waters and running into troubles of, having casualties, whether in Israel, Lebanon, or Palestine, because of the so-called power play. I go back to the issue of power play, hegemony, who controls what? Why America and England and the Western countries are backing Israel to defend themselves, then the Arabian world, all the way to the Eastern European, and the likes of allies like Russia is also saying, well, if you come and cause problem in my territory, I will also support these people to do what they need to do. I think the only outcome in all of this is the war is going to go on for a very long time. Africa that has been unstable, especially like Nigeria, who's never been self-sufficient, will continue to suffer for whatever comes from this country, just like we suffer grains, supply, and the cost of living will go up. And I think we as Africans and Nigerians should wake up and try to find ways to be self-sufficient, because those people that are power mongers in America, in England, in France, in Iran, in China, in Russia, they or their families never felt the wrath of what is happening with the bombs being dropped on Palestine, Lebanon, on the rockets that is fired into Israel. That is the more reason why I feel that there's a need for people to really have a rethink and look at better ways to address issues. Like you just said, what is the United Nations? What is the European Union? All these are all bunch of Mickey Mouse freedom of how they're trying to bring people together, form allies, and constantly do the same thing that they do. That is not right. So as I speak to you now, we are speaking from here, but the people in Palestinians that have been receiving bombs being dropped on them, in Lebanon, in Iran, what they did the other day, and what Israel is doing, believe it or not, is not in the interest of anybody, but I'm very certain that if anybody was to back down, the issue of genocide will come in. But I'm telling you today, as it stands, we know the American state is very strong. We know that Russia will want to support Iran. Whatever that it takes, I just feel the life that is being lost is not a good thing. And it is because of the selfish interest of a few who invest so much money in weaponry, aside the fact they have to defend the territory. For instance, you see the Palestinians telling you that the Israelis have been occupying their lands, that they should leave their land. But I mean, Israel, Galilee, all these small towns that is very holy, were a place that were living together between the Israelis, the Jewish and the Arabs. What has happened over this time that has now become such a gap? There's no love anymore. Everybody just don't like each other. Some people will tell you, back in the West, the more of us you kill in Palestinians, the more kids you give birth to. And I ask them, what is the purpose of giving birth to kids if you know they're going to die? So I don't really understand the reasons why they will start war in Ukraine, and now it's extended to Israel and Lebanon and Iran. It's not good at all.
Right. Right now, Iran got pissed. They got angry. And they shot over 150 missiles towards Israel. And in response, America delivered a $1 billion third defense system to Israel to protect their airspace. Does it not mean that the Iron Dome in Israel is failing? Or they are saying that Iran will do what because Israel will not keep quiet because of what they did to Israel? Take it up from there.
Yes, Iran is like an opportunist. And the anger is sort of aggregated. They're looking for an opportunity to unleash their so much built-up anger on Israel for any reason. Any reason. It's just like when you're arguing. You say, what did A say? You say, he says so thing. What did B say? Because you are on the side of A. Anything A says is right. Anybody that is arguing against A is wrong. So Iran, to me, has no basis. If there's a roll call, the next country to fight against Israel, I'm sure Iran will be down the ladder. So I don't know personally why Iran is showing so much interest. Iran says it's an aggregated anger that has built up over the years.
They said Israel killed one of their commanders.
One. So does killing one person create a war? It shouldn't create any war. There are diplomatic measures in which such a thing can be resolved. It should not just lead to any war, except Iranian government sent that man as a spy to do one or two things. If even within the same nation, don't kind of killings happen. I would not heard in Nigeria, for instance, that it was an accidental discharge. Would there be a war thereafter? There should not be. So, if somebody died, what did you put in place to unravel the cause of the death? So to Iran, it doesn't matter what killed that man. What mattered to them, and still matters to them now, is you killed one of us without knowing what actually happened. So Iran, to me, is a show spoiler.
A show spoiler.
It's a show spoiler, and it just wants to aggravate more problems in the Middle East. And at the end of the day, everybody's going to go back home feeling sorry for whatever they would have killed innocently.
Okay.
So Iran is a major challenge.
Major challenge. Well, before I come to you, Barrister Harun Wazo, let's take a break, all right? If you just joined us, this is International Forum. Let me come to Barrister Henry Wazo. Honorable Frank Amego said that Iran is a spoiler, a major spoiler. They're looking for an opportunity to always attack Israel. Do you think this is what they've been waiting for them to at least show a little might?
You see, the truth there, just as I rightly said earlier, these neighbors have always been at each other's or one another's throat, as it were, long before now. There has always been that struggle for supremacy, as it were. And then coupled with the fact that there is this, I'll use the word hatred for the Israelis, that has always been there, especially within the Arab nation. And they look for every opportunity to take a pound of flesh on the Israelis. And you see what actually happened. Iran firing into the Israelis, and though they were lucky that they were able to, the drone was able to pick most of the drone that was fired towards Israel. But I tell you that Israel surely will retaliate at an opportune time without the knowledge of the Iranians at the time they will attack them. Accepted that one of their generals was killed, but the question then is, what was the role of the general in the issue of the Hamas and the Hezbollah? Has he had a hand in all the activities that have been going on? Because this Hamas we are talking about, they are humans. You are the Hezbollah, they are not apart from within that Gaza Strip where they all gather. The question there is, what actually are they fighting for? And they want Israelis to leave the Palestinian land, they say. But the question again, has the Israelis not occupied a particular territory within the Arab world long before now? That we now continually, you see them fighting one another. So I know Iran is looking for an opportunity to test their weapons, and which they have actually done. But they also find out that the Israelis on their own are ready at any point in time to withstand anything, as it were. And I know of a truth that in few days or weeks to come, the war will continue to rage. There will be more casualties. But unfortunately, our pain is that the innocent persons are being killed who have little or no hand in what is going on in that part of the world. But the question there is, what has United Nations done? What has the European Union done? What has all these bodies, including the Red Cross and others, have been there? Have anybody, tried to see reasons why Israel? They waited until Israel was attacked in October 7th. Now people are saying, "Oh, you are going too far. You are going to Lebanon. You started the war, and you want the war to end so easily. It will not, because one, the people they are looking for, they are still there. When they talked about the issue of exchange of hostages, they have 250 of them." In that November, as it were. At the end of the day, it was only 100. The remaining 150, up to today, we don't know what has happened. But you remember, at the time Israel, launched a ground attack, they discovered that some of the hostages were also equally killed. So there's every possibility that, if not to tell the majority of the hostages must have been killed, as it were. Though they rescued 4, rescued 9, and as it were. So I see it from the angle that those who is their primary responsibility to ensure there is peace in the world has failed to do that which they need to do. United Nations, European Union Instead, people are fueling it. People find an opportunity to test the weapons they have manufactured. People are looking for opportunity to sell their weapons. It's the same thing you'll find. Because if actually they wanted peace in the Middle East, these Hamas, these Hezbollah, they have their leaders. They are not unknown persons. They have their leaders, call their leaders to them. Because most of the leaders were killed by Israelis drone. Call these their leaders to them. Gentlemen, it is time we have peace in the Middle East. It's time you stop this war trying to exterminate Israelis out of the surface of the earth. They are humans. They have their own land, as it were. If you go to the Middle East, look at where Israel occupied. I don't think it's as big as Edo State, as it were, where they occupy. But those neighbors have continually want them to leave the land, claiming that the land belongs to them, as it were. So, to me, Iran is only trying to fuel the crisis, and if care is not taken, it will degenerate to the Third World War, because I know some persons will want to join.
All right.
At the end of the day.
All right. Now, he said if time is not taken, if the situation is not well handled, it might just degenerate into a Third World War. Do you see that happening? Don't forget that Israel says they owe Iran $1 billion. It's going to come precise and it's going to be deadly.
Deadly.
Underline the word deadly and precise. Take it up from there.
Well, like I said, it's very unfortunate. They said those who is down fears no fall. The Israeli feels that are surrounded by this Arabian Peninsula, with, countries within the state. But unfortunately, Saudi Arabia and some of all these other Arab countries don't necessarily support Iran's position on Israel. To me, like you talked about the UN, the European Union, they're all in somebody's pocket, the American pocket. I remember when the US went to Iraq, when they lied about weapons of mass destruction, they wanted to get rid of Saddam, just because Saddam wanted to trade his crude oil in their currency. They told all kinds of lies. So as long as lies is the purpose of why we exist as humans, they don't really care if people die. And Israel talking about owing one, well, Israel, they probably want to do something stupid. And by the time they do whatever they want to do, at the most it will be a nuclear war. If there's a nuclear war, it's not good for anybody. I know that the human nature of people that exists within these countries, and the 1% that leads don't care about anybody, because in the arena where they are, and the arms they want to sell, and the conflict they want to brew, and the arms that they want to test, it's all in the ideology of hegemony. Who is the strongest man? Who has the best weapons? Then the interest of enemy of my enemy is my friend. The minute you speak about Israel, the Iranians will tell you it's the US. They're angry with the Israelis probably more because of the US support. And that is why the generals are there funding Hezbollah like a terrorist group, just like we have Boko Haram, just like they have in the unknown gunmen in the East. Look at it in the Eastern Bloc, unknown gunmen, of what benefit has it brought to the East? But these people are brothers, they are people they know, but they can't speak out. The same thing is happening in Lebanon. So the common man and woman, the innocent children you see on the screen become the biggest victim. Because they're not interested in the war. But because people don't believe that they are God themselves, they say God, man was made in the image of God. So the Western world believe that they're God, and believe it or not, as much as we want to blame the Palestinians or blame the Iranian, or maybe say why Israel did this and that, they've all had their fair share of losses. From history, you will know that the pawn in the chess game, there are people who are the dogs and the baboons that will soak in blood. The people that run this world are of certain formation that people cannot really challenge. Otherwise, what happens to Gaddafi and Saddam Hussein will happen to you. So because of that, if there was another supernatural being that exists on instant penalty, I'm sure that they would have stopped all the things that they do. Because the ammunitions, when we needed ammunitions to fight Boko Haram during Goodluck Jonathan's time, certain interests don't send their arms. But today, you see the arms that they pumped into Ukraine is going through the back door into the black market to destabilize Africa. So what is the purpose of all these bodies, the UN, the EU, and all these people? You want to bring about humanitarian issues, why start the war? So I don't know. I feel for the Palestinians, I feel for the Iranians, I feel for the Hezbollah, ignorance, because there's no real education. I also feel for Israel, who is caught up in the midst, because somewhere they must settle.
All right. So, but you're saying that it's not going to lead to a Third World War.
No, none of these people are interested in Third World War. Okay. Neither is America interested, neither is Israelis interested, neither is the Iranians. Because when you go to this country, these so-called leaders are living a luxury life that they don't want to just give away or give up right now.
All right, over to you, Honorable. The aspect of Third World War, after all, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. The friend to my enemy is my enemy, because that's what we're right now. Whether you believe it or not, Iran is supporting Hezbollah big time. US is supporting Israel indirectly, since Iran is supporting Russia against Ukraine. Definitely Russia indirectly is supporting Iran. So it's like, you know, everyone take your side, everyone mouth, everyone just support your ally, so to speak. Do you sense Third World War brewing somewhere? Don't forget the threat by Israel. Iran said, don't retaliate or else we'll know what to do. Israel said, don't worry. We're going to come hard at you, deadly and precise.
Well, from the mathematical background you gave, maybe you didn't know that. That's the first point, that's the question one, then question two.
Question two.
The moment you want to do the DYDS of everything, you discover that 1 + 1 must not be 2. It must not be 2. The 2 here in this instance is the Third World War. 1 + 1, countries fighting, must not necessarily result to a Third World War like this. 1 + 1 can't be 2 immediately. There are several figures between 1 and 2, like 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. So it's the speed, that is the highest speed, 1 that gets to 2 immediately. So before it moves to 2, maybe we have stopped at 1.085. So it won't lead to 2. Something will not happen. That I don't know now, that it will not happen, that it will kind of inhibit the further movement. They would have stopped at 1.085, for instance. So it won't lead to the Third World War. Just as Honorable Sonny just said, that there are a lot of these rich guys.
That name has stuck. Forget it, continue.
Rich people all over the world, living in affluence, in luxury, that wouldn't want this war to end. Just like growing up then, they give you a piece of meat. And because of the way the piece of meat is so delicious, you want to swallow it. Because if you swallow it, that's the end of it. So the rich guys around these other countries are at war now, we don't want to die. So it won't lead to that place. So you cannot just, by a simple extrapolation, these 2 countries fighting, other 2 fighting, so it won't happen like that.
All right. Well, condition was given to Israel by the U.S., even if they want to retaliate, do not target their nuclear site, do not target their oil site. Now, if it would be Benjamin Netanyahu to really make it pain Iran, do you think one of those sites should be targeted, Barrister?
Well, you see, given condition, that is where I actually quarreled over these other countries, the United Nations, EU and all that. Why giving conditions where to attack? Instead of finding a meeting point where parties can resolve their differences.
Because you know that Israel must retaliate.
Sure.
There's no gainsaying about it.
If they are going to retaliate, which you know they are going to retaliate, you will not give them condition where to attack. Because they know where it pains them most. And remember the word used. He said it's going to be deadly. And it's going to be precise. Precise and deadly is going to... It might be the president. It might be anybody, but I know of the truth. It's going to be a high, top-ranking officer that they are going to pick, just as they have been doing. But can't the international communities wade into this crisis? When that of Ukraine and Russia started, 2 years has come and going. The war is still raging. People are busy supporting, testing their weapons they have manufactured here and there. How long can we continue to do that in the human race? So you find out that it has always been those who have one way or the other of benefiting, and they will continue to ensure that it never ended. Just like in our society in Nigeria, we are talking about bandits, you are talking about Boko Haram. Some persons do not want it to end, because if it ends, how will they be making money? Because arms will be sold. Some persons will be giving money to enable them to buy arms. Some persons will be giving money for humanitarian services. Some persons will claim, oh, that we are going to do this or we are going to do that. So it will continue. And that is the same thing you are finding today between the Israelis and those neighboring countries within the Arab nation. So to me, the best would have been for the international community to mediate and find a meeting point where this crisis will end, so that the innocents who are being killed day in, day out do not suffer for what they... If you watch the clip you played, you see a little boy of maybe 6 or 7 years old. Maybe one of the legs has been removed, as it were. This is an innocent child who came to the world just like any other child, with a high hope of tomorrow becoming a... But unfortunately for him, those crises that are created by few persons, because all these issues are created by few persons who want to continually to remain relevant. It's a very small minute of persons who want to remain relevant that have created the crisis that is going on.
All right. Well, you are talking about UN. Some are saying that right now the 5 main security council, they are not in sync. That's the reason why UN doesn't have enough strength to even stop the war between Russia and Ukraine. When you talk less of the war between Israel, Hamas, and Hezbollah, I don't believe that's weakened.
For you to know where you're standing, you must understand and know where you're coming from. It means you must know your history. And then that will help you to factor out and work out a way of where you're going. The UN were together when there was war in Iraq a couple of years back. I remember vividly. The UN vetoed the war in Iraq, but the UN voted against going to war in Iraq, but the US came up and said they would go to that war, whether the UN or not. So they created the UN, they undermined the UN. That's why I said the UN is in some people's pockets. That is the way it is. The world has been bastardized with the idea of money. It's not God's creation. Everybody is a victim of materialism. You know, by the time you're speaking, saying, they'll tell you, well, you don't know what is happening. And the issues of freedom, I'm bringing in this mirror, I'm bringing the Bible, and up to this day, we're still stuck in this little 4 walls, and there's no escape route, like we're caught in a dungeon. I think people need to understand that the world is not a really nice place. As long as they're selling their arms and doing what they're doing, at the end of the day, there are people within the Iranian state that have been rebelling the government for a very long time. As long as people can sell you a dummy to constantly find a way to play you out, which is the ideology of the colonial masters, and people who spoke against or spoke out for people to understand that this freedom is Mickey Mouse freedom. Lucky Dube was shot by somebody who didn't even have any problems with him. Bob Marley was killed mysteriously. Majek Fashek, who spoke and sang in ways that can educate people, became an addict. When you look at these things, it is about time we tell ourselves the truth, that this world is not a nice place. These people are not interested in making this world a comfortable place for anybody. We have to create that comfort for ourselves. If the Israelis and the Palestinians and the Lebanese and the Iranians find sense, especially those ones that are less of course, Israel is a very powerful country militarily. Maybe there might be peace, because the best way to peace is just to understand and dialogue. How come whenever it comes to the issue of war and arms is being sold, nobody dialogues? So who is fooling who? The only great thing that has happened in the existence of man is that nobody lives forever. God gives you lives, and when it gets to a time, you go. If not, let us assume that John McCain will stay here. He'll probably be creating more war. That is why, in a way, I respected Donald Trump, because he came in and stopped 5 wars. He pulled out of Afghanistan. That was not good for the Afghanistan citizen, because the Taliban will come and really deal with them. Just like with Israel, Israel will not back down, because they believe if they back down, what happened during the Holocaust may happen to them, when 7 million Jews were gassed. So if Israel is telling you that they want to come hard, trust me, they might be using some kind of nuclear acclaimed weapon that they can use to melt and destroy their enemies. Because if they don't, they will have no faith anyway.
All right.
So I think the US and the English and the world leaders who are pretenders, people who are not sincere, should just have a place in their heart and say, you know what? If they want the problem in Ukraine to stop today with Russia, to stop.
Okay.
If they want the problem in Israel and Palestinians and these people to stop, they can
To
call
stop.
them.
All right.
These problems will stop.
All right, and before calling it a wrap on this show, that might be your last line on this show, but others saying because of time factor, the Middle East as it is right now, the Middle East as it is right now is on the brink. Because some are saying that this war might just spread to Yemen. Don't forget that Yemen also is another stronghold of militia groups sponsored by Iran. The Middle East as it is right now, will it be the same for a long time?
Yeah, it might be. But my major challenge now, before I can quickly answer your question, the crude oil sales, the prices would have gone much higher because of the challenge in the Middle East. So all the OPEC nations will benefit from it. Nigeria, of course, will benefit from it, but Nigerians will benefit from it. Because the impact will be more negative than the kind of reduction in the pump price of petroleum products. Nigeria will gain, but Nigerians won't gain from it. More impoverishment will come in. Then zero it on the Middle East, their lives won't be the same again. A lot of generations have been wiped off. Families, from what I saw some days ago, some families have been wiped off. In other words, that generation is gone. Father, mother, children, grandchildren, all killed. So I don't think they have learned their lessons enough yet. Otherwise, this war should stop. Back to what Barrister said, the intervention of the UN. UN can't do anything now. If UN wanted to do a thing, they should start from manufacturing sales of weapons. You are not stopping that. You are saying they should stop fighting. If their arms and ammunition are far reduced, their strength will reduce. So if UN wants to really ensure that the war ceases or reduces, they should stop first the manufacturing sales of these dangerous weapons. That's my take.
All right. Barrister, you're going to have the last take on this discussion.
Yeah.
What should be the way forward this time? Because Israel, you know, is not going to back down. Hezbollah keep on, it's like a pidgin English. A giant is hitting on a dwarf. Dwarf is crying, you go kill me, you go kill me. I see throwing stone at the giants. I mean, how is it going to, like, you know, come to an end?
You see, the truth there is these people, they have a kind of a mindset. They have that mindset that some will tell you that if you die while you are fighting this cause, that you are going to heaven.
Brainwashed, huh?
They, just as my brother said, they have been brainwashed. And there are some persons, even in our local, before now in Nigeria here, people, women were wearing bomb. They detonate it in the market, in other places. It took the grace of God for us to come out of it. So this is the same thing these people have been made to understand. They have been brainwashed. They have been told that, oh, look, if you die while trying to fight a particular cause, that this is where you're going. So it will take the grace of God to wash away such a mindset from the people who have been brainwashed in that world. So it's going to be very difficult. And the Israelis on their part will not sit down and watch their enemies that surround them to come and exterminate them first before they react. So it will go on. It will go on.
All right, thank you so much. Our time is obviously having strong signals to call it a wrap on this. I know you have one or two to say, but there's no time.
No, I don't want to say nothing else.
Well,
I've spoken loud enough.
The war is still going on. Israel is hammering on Hezbollah. Hezbollah also, they've sent drones. Yes, 4 Israelis have been killed. That was yesterday or 2 days ago. And Israel came heavily down on Hamas and Gaza, and heavily also on Lebanon, trying to dismantle Hezbollah. How would all this power? Don't forget, they still maintain the all Iran one, deadly and precise. This escalation in the Middle East, how is it affecting the world? Don't forget the price of crude oil. It has gone up. Like what Honorable said, it will benefit Nigeria, but not Nigerians.
No,
That'll be a talk for another day. We'll do it again next week, Tuesday, God willing. Bye for now.